Frank Peter Zimmermann, welcome.
Thank you.
It was so good to have you here for a little chat. You just came from rehearsal of Beethoven Violin Concerto. What sort of common history do you have with this concerto? Do you remember something from the early years?
Long history. I think that it was the first concerto that I tried to play once I learned the violin, and I always wanted to play it. I was 7 or 8 years old, but I did not succeed. So I think my first performance with the orchestra was in 1980, when I was 15. And since then, I think I have played it around 300 times in my life. It is always following me everywhere, and people asked for it, and I have many great experiences with great conductors and wonderful orchestras. But I'm really happy also to play it here with Susanna, Mälkki and the orchestra, an orchestra that I'm really very, very close with.
Yes. Since you have performed it so many times, do you seek to find always something like fresh interpretation
Absolutely.
For it?
Yes.
And is it hard?
No,
with all the loads of conventions on how to play?
I think that with Beethoven, you should never make a compromise. You have to really work each time again hard on it. And I always give myself certain years where I don't play it. But once I restart playing it, like this year, I haven't played it for 7 years, and then this year I picked it up again in May. And now it's a series of, I think, more than 30 performances this year.
Okay.
And I must say that I again bought a whole new score. I have, of course, the facsimile since many years, but I paid even more attention to it. And I especially also worked on the details between the violin and the orchestra, also joining the tutis sometimes, and that gave me also new ideas how to play the solo part.
So you said that you really didn't play it for 7 years, and you sort of cleaned your ears.
Yes.
So you kind of put yourself into the same position as starting a new piece, because you're also known for playing premieres of contemporary concertos.
Yeah.
It must be very different to start working on a whole new work without any conventions or your own traditions. How do you start? Like you have given the premiere for instance, the second violin concerto by Magnus Lindberg. So how does it differ from rehearsing a standard piece?
Well, I think it's almost the same. I mean, Magnus Lindberg's concerto, of course, I met him a couple of times and I asked him for advice. I remember 2 years ago when I played the last time with the Helsinki Philharmonic, when I played Shostakovich, he came and he had just finished half of the piece, and I tried to play it for him, and he gave me some instructions, and I think this kind of instinct as a musician, of course you listen to other pieces by the composer, this you get after a while.
Okay.
And if a composer like Magnus or other like Brett Dean, for example, they write so well for instrument, for a string instrument, it's not that kind of far away from me.
You also play a lot of chamber music. You tour with your piano trio.
My string trio.
Your string trio?
Yes.
Okay, it has changed. I learned somewhere that your biggest dream in life would be to have a string quartet of your own.
Yes, but the string quartet means you have to stop playing solo, because I
Really?
find it is not fair towards the great string quartets in the world, let's say like Hagen or Emerson. Just to do once in a while, to meet the other 3 guys and then play. Okay. I think a string quartet really has to be a group that plays mostly throughout the year.
Okay.
It is so delicate and the repertoire is so difficult. A string trio also is quite difficult, but I think it is still possible to have 3 individual soloists to come together and then work intensively, of course. But string, I love just the pure string sound. you know, to play with the piano. The moment you start playing with the piano, which is of course great, it changes everything, and it really gets easier. But to find the pure string sound and the string trio, you cannot hide anything. There's always one player who has to play two voices, because you need four voices to write something really solid.
Yes.
This makes you incredible, sharpen your ears and your mind. And I must admit, I played string trio since 10 years now. I used to play string trio when I was a teenager with my father, so I knew quite a lot of the repertoire. But it changed my way of approaching the whole music, also my solo concerts. And
So they sort of feed each other, playing in string
and
trio
it's a nice
soloist.
balance too.
Yes.
You know.
Tell me about your instrument,
My
Lady Inchiquin.
instrument, yeah, Lady Inchiquin. I got it back. You know, there was the story
Yes.
of the bank, Westdeutsche Landesbank, that has to close down, and they wanted to sell the violin together with their other pieces of art.
Yes, you
And
had to.
finally, we could not agree, and I had to give it away for 2 years. But the local government of North Rhine-Westphalia and the German state, they bought it back for me, and fortunately, I can play it now.
Yes.
Without being afraid to give it back again.
How would you describe it as a violin? What sort of creature
Well, then
is it?
it was, you know, I got it back just recently in April. And after 2 years, I had wonderful violins in between. I was helped by many people, but that she's my voice.
Yes.
And when she came back, it was like from 1 second to the other, I was back to normal again.
Yeah.
And the thing is that with this violin, I can express really my soul. Of course, with other violins, you can also do great things, but it is just the perfect match, I think.
Was it totally, while it was away from you, was it totally unplayed?
It was unplayed, and it was
Was it
in the
different
safe
after
for
the
2 years.
pause? Like
You know, I was in between. I went to this violin maker in Stuttgart, Mr. Köstler, who kept it. And I came back twice, and I played it. And for one moment, I thought it really was kind of falling into parts, and the sound was a bit grey.
yes.
But once I got it back, it opened up very quickly. You know, since in 2001, I'm playing with the Philharmonic, Helsinki Philharmonic, and was from the first moment a great collaboration. I remember when John Storgats started with me, and we played also the series of violin concertos of the 1930s, which made me even closer to the orchestra, because there were 6 different violin concertos played in 3 concerts in a short time. And since then, they are really one of my favorite groups to play with.
Great. Please
And
come back
Helsinki is a
soon.
nice place.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome.